Back. I know that navigation video, it gets very long, but it's one of your best tools to kind of keep in your pocket while you're going through this initial setup, because the dashboard is going to be, it's very overwhelming at times, right? And especially some of the columns and reporting, it's going to take you a few, probably a month or so before you can kind of really get a good handle on where everything is and how to find it all. But in this next section, we're going to talk about the tools section, like your tool belt, basically, right? So what kind of resources and, devices, tools, and statistical, I guess, referencing points do you have that are available within Google Ads, right? So first of all, we're going to go up here to the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. Now, just a couple little pointers as well. Like, you've got a couple different things up here. Like this is, you're basically your question menu, like quick reference map, new features, announcements, guided steps, lead feedback, verify support requests. Like, if you ever call into Google support, that's one of the things that they've started adding in here. So it's 866-246-6453. So 1-866-2-Google, basically. And when you call in now, since I think they're actually overseas, you have to verify the support button, and that's where you're going to do that. And then any updates or any, basically notifications within the account will be up here. But to find the tools menu, we're going to go over here, right? And I'm going to go basically from right to left in this, because as we get towards the end, there's some really, really valuable tools that are actually going to help kind of set up the first campaign, right? So that's why this particular tool is so valuable. And as we already have talked about, we've gone into the billing. You've got your setup basically over here, right? Your business data, your policy manager, account access, linked accounts, preferences, and Google Merchant Center. The only one you're really going to be, logging into or really dealing with is going to be that account access or linked accounts. The linked accounts, if you go into here real quick, this is basically where you're going to link in all of your additional resources, right? Like Google Analytics. And I'm going to teach you how to do that in a later lesson, but there's multiple tools that you can link in here, such as, YouTube, right? We'll just go to YouTube, add a channel. So we'll go to, let's say, FSI. One of my channels, actually. Do Collateral Visions. Yeah, there's not in there, but basically you say someone else owns this chicken. You send a request. It's one way. If you own the channel, you just basically it'll click OK. It'll say go to YouTube. It'll have you accept that channel, right? So that's the primary one you're going to want to link up first. Obviously, as well, Google Analytics, but I'm going to teach you how to do that because it's a little bit more intensive, right? That's really the primary one that you're going to be using within the setup menu. Now we get into measurements, right? Measurements is a very, very vital tool within the entire campaign. Now, the first thing I'm going to kind of walk you through is actually setting up a conversion. Now, I have an entire video on doing that, but this is where you'll actually do it, right? So you'll basically hit tools, go down and you hit conversions. And from this point, you'll hit the plus conversion and it'll walk you through the steps. And I have an entire video in a later section that teaches you exactly what the different conversion types are and how to use it. So I'm not going to jump ahead. I'm just going to kind of continue down the tools here. The other one that is very, very important is obviously the Google Analytics. So once your Google Analytics is linked, then you'll be able to actually go to this and it'll pull in the data and it'll show you, basically what all your data is basically linking to it, right? So it'll pull in the data from Google Analytics. Now since it's not linked at this point, you don't have that. The other one that we have in here under tools is the search attribution. So this is a very new tool that they've just kind of come out with. It's going to show you all the cross-device conversions. Attribution, I go much more in depth in the analytics portion. But the main thing that you need to really keep in mind here is this is a very, very good tool to have to understand, right, where your conversions are coming from, your cross-device activity, the path to conversion, right, whether or not they came from YouTube to Google Organic, then to Google Search or something along those lines. It'll also give you some click analysis, and then you can also adjust the attribution model down here to basically take into account what model you want to use, whether it be first click, last click, time decay, and I'll go more into those attribution models, but just wanted to kind of show you where you can access it through the tool. And the main thing with this is it's more of just a tool whenever you're starting out to kind of see where things are coming from, right? And once you'll understand later on in the course more about the attribution, a lot of this metrics will make sense. So I caution you to kind of quit diving into this right away, or not dive into this right away, because some of the data, if once you get it in here, if you get enough of it kind of make your head spin. The other thing, we have the bulk actions, right? You have all bulk actions, rules, scripts, and what's the other one here? It's uploading and uploads, right? Uploads is going to be more for uploading lists of data and uploading basically CSV files. So these are all accessible on the all bulk actions page. So you have a couple different things, right? The automated rules, I cover this more in depth in the advanced section, so I'm not going to touch on that, but this is where you would actually enter them. The scripts as well, if you have any automated scripts that are supposed to do things within the account, whether display a certain type of ad to a certain user, or display a certain phone number to a certain zip code, something along those lines, or even just with simple management of keywords and basically ranking of them, you can have those in here. And then the upload aspect is just very simple, right? You just hit upload. You can upload your templates of whatever they are, right? It's a Google Sheet or an upload file. So that's not really one you're going to be using. So I'd caution you to even stay away from that until you're a little bit more advanced and gone through the accelerated section if you've purchased that. So the shared library is probably one of these two, planning and shared library, are going to be you're pretty much, at least when you're starting out, your most used kind of tools within the campaigns. Measurement is obviously going to be very, very valuable once you get the data in here and you can actually see it. But when you're just starting out, these shared library and planning tools they're really very important, right? So the shared library, you have audience manager, bid strategies, negative keyword list, and shared budgets and placement exclusions. So the audience manager, we're going to cover that more in the audience section later on within this section, basically the dive in section. But with the audience manager, this is where all of your audiences are held. So the audiences are like your remarketing audiences, right? So the people that came to your site and didn't purchase or left off, right? You can basically start filtering down those audiences. If you have traffic coming from YouTube, if you have traffic coming from Facebook, or any of the other sections or platforms, right? This is where you can basically segment that audience down and really start kind of compartmentalizing it according to different behaviors. Now, the audience manager is going to have everything automatically in here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this real quick. So this is a brand new account, so we won't really have any audiences, right? But you can set up an audience source is the first thing that you want to do, right? Now, I go more in depth, again, in the audience section, so I'm not going to dive into that. But this is where, just so you kind of don't start clicking and mess yourself up, this is where that section is. The bid strategies, these are, again, they're more for things whenever you get on kind of when you're operating multiple campaigns. So this isn't something we're going to dive into right now, but this is where you're going to be able to apply bid strategies such as CPA bidding or maximize conversion, something to that effect, across all your campaigns rather than just having them specific to the one campaign. The most valuable one in here, though, and this is, you will want to start setting up, because just and basically you've got these negative keyword lists, right? So we'll do this one because it's similar audience, right? It's not in here anymore. But basically, the negative keyword list is very, very important, right? So I use just a count list, and I'm going to tell you just kind of what I use this for, right? So there's some things that I know that they're never going to be, qualified for a particular account, right? So, I mean, to be quite honest with you, that's one of them. Any adult theme keyword, since we deal with Google Analytics, or we deal with Google, anything that's adult related or fringe, I honestly put in there, because if it could ever happen in hell, it'll happen within Google, right? So the other things that you want to maybe put in here is classes, right? And in the negative keyword list, which is in some of the subsequent, I think it's in model 3 or 4, I'm going to walk you through how to develop these keyword lists. And I also provide you with a really, really handy tool. You may have saw it in the resource section when you dove in, and you're going to see it in the vocabulary and resource section before we get out of here, out of this module. But it's a very, very valuable, comprehensive list of keywords that they simply don't apply, right? So I don't ever want to pay for somebody that's looking for a class, jobs, right? Employment, Now, unless you have particular campaigns that are actually targeting employment, like you're trying to target people to hire for your business, those keywords are never going to be valuable. So what I do within here is I'll put those in an account list, right? And that's what the negative keyword list is. And I'm going to show you in the negative keyword portion how you can apply that account level list to all your campaigns or one of your campaigns. But this allows you to create this list and not have to duplicate it throughout every time you build a new campaign, right? Now, when you go to the tools and settings, the other one is the shared budget. Now, the shared budget, again, it's very similar to the bid strategies. It's more of making sure that you have the ability to share a particular amount of money across multiple campaigns. Like you built 3 campaigns out and you're not sure which one is actually going to really perform the best or have the highest volume. So you want to just apply maybe $100 a day, right? So what it's going to do is it's going to space that budget out across all of your 3 campaigns you're built. Like, let's say we're within my industry, right? We're trying to target an e-commerce company. We're trying to also target, people that are looking for health insurance leads. And then we're also looking for auto warranty leads, right? So I would maybe split that budget across all 3. And rather than having one campaign that doesn't take up all the budget, it'll allow all 3 budgets or all 3 campaigns to have a crack at that budget. And it's really a first come, first serve. So if the health insurance has a lot more volume, then it's probably going to eat up the majority of that budget. Now, again, if you're trying to spread your budget out across multiple campaigns, then that's where that becomes problematic. So keep that in mind. And again, we're going to dive into this more in the accelerated section as well. And we even touch on this a little bit later on in the dive in section. So the placement exclusion list, this is very much, again, it's a lot like the negative keyword list, right? If you have a particular set of sites that I never want my ads to appear on, right? Like I never want Plenty of Fish is one that, depending on what you're selling, I've seen Plenty of Fish, POF.com show up in all sorts of different campaigns. Like when you're doing any sort of display campaign, I think it's just because of all the profiles that are on there and all the different interests and things like that it has this just unusual effect where it can pull people or pull clicks in because of the relevancy factor of the profiles of all the individuals on it, right? So POF might be one of those that you want to put on there. And what I'll do is I'll hit a new list. We'll do add URLs, right? And I'll type in, POF.com. It'll try and find it. Or if it's not in there, then I can just put www.pof.com. And then I can add that one placement, right? You can do channels, you can do popular content, do websites, POFD, Seeking Slave, their lane, Beyond Black and White, Match.com is another one that shows up a lot of places, Galactica, Love. Depending on what you're trying to, target and what your particular product is you're selling. If you're selling video games, you might not want to do Galactic Love. I don't know what that website is, and we don't need to look at it on the video, but, some of these you're going to want to kind of deep dive into. AskMen.com, that's actually a really, really good site because they have a ton of content, a ton of articles that show up on there about video games, about dating, about just everything, right? They're a kind of an aggregator of content. So that might be a good site to actually keep on there. But what you do, again, whenever you're done, you've got your websites over here. You can just go ahead and hit save. And then that list you can apply to multiple campaigns. And again, we'll go through that later on in the account, but I just want you to be aware of some of these tools that you have at your disposal. And now we're going to jump into one of the most valuable sections that is in the tools menu here, right? It's your planning section, right? They've made some changes in the last few weeks as far as what is available and kind of some of the tools that are in there, but I'm going to walk you through the different ones right now, all right? So you've got performance plan. Performance plan, you actually have to create a plan with first, right? So you have to first off go to Keyword Planner. Minimize this a little bit. Now, Better Keyword Planner, this is some of the changes that they've made that they're talking about. Kind of walks you through some of these. I'm already aware of them. So you've got discover new keywords and get search volume and forecast. So the discover new keywords is what the keyword planner is, right? This is more of a forecasting tool, which we're going to go through that in just a second, but I just kind of want to jump into the keyword planner first of all. And, one thing that you can do, let's say I'm trying to sell hair products. I'll just do that because that was one of my clients that, did a lot of business in the last couple of years with. One of their main competitors was ghdhair.com. So you can do a couple different things, right? Like you can type in the URL in there within this particular tool and hit search, and it'll search the URL, right? And try and find all of the keywords that they have associated with under their URL. It looks at their actual meta tags and the descriptors of the tags. But let's say I want to do, let's say just health insurance. And we'll do United Insurance. Do up to 10 within this row, okay? And you hit get results. Now, this is basically going to give me all the particular keyword ideas. Now, it goes down several out. I'll just do, 30 or 40, but it has my keywords that I put in up here, right? It gives me search volume, average monthly searches. It also gives descriptions of each one of these, but you've got the competition, whether or not it's a, high competition keyword, medium competition, the ad impression share. This doesn't really ever show up, to be quite honest with you, unless you're uploading a plan back in. And then the other one is top of page bid right here, and then top of page bid high range. So this is kind of like to get in the top 3 spots, and this is to get in the top spot, right? And it's also going to give you a bunch of related keywords down through here. Now, again, some of these are very relevant, right? Medical insurance, private health insurance, stuff like that. But medical insurance is different than health insurance, right? So the one thing that you want to keep in mind is that AdWords also needs to be built out in themes, right? So if I'm building out campaigns, I pretty much want to have and I'm looking at health insurance, I'm only going to want to have stuff that has health insurance in there. So, right, private health insurance, cheap health insurance quotes, health insurance plans. Now, these are more descriptor words, right? Plans or quotes or phone number, stuff like that. Cheap, where private insurance it's as well. Health insurance is a very broad term, but affordable health insurance, maybe even health insurance companies, individual health insurance. But medical insurance, that's different than health insurance. I know, it's definitely along the same lines, but whenever Google's concerned and the relevancy tree, which is what we want to kind of talk about, is it's more about the just really how closely do they align realistically. So the relevancy tree, and we're going to talk about this when we go through building ads as well, but it's about, okay, how well does the user search relate to the ad text? Which means, if the user search is health insurance, does the ad text have health insurance multiple times, 1, 2, 3 times in there in different variations of sentences and things like that? And then the landing page that they're going to go on and land on, does that also contain health insurance, right? So that's that tree of relevance. So all of a sudden, if you're landing them on a page that has health insurance on it and they, clicked on medical insurance, then that tree of relevance is it's actually you're going to pay a little bit more for that click because of the actual, cost per click. And I covered that a little bit in subsequent sections, but I just kind of want to, preface that whenever we're going through this, because this tool is incredibly valuable for getting you some good volume. But the one thing you need to be cautious of is the fact that these bids are not always correct, right? They're a little bit out of line. But as we go through here, right, you can add this to a plan. You can just add it to a particular ad group, right? Like I can call health insurance, right? And it'll actually put a keyword, or it'll put an ad group in my campaign, right? Adding to health insurance. You have to match the name of whatever health or whatever ad group you're throwing it into, all right? I can do add it to a plan, add to existing campaign. I don't have any existing campaigns in there. You can also look at change the match type of it when you throw it in here. And I'll just hit add keywords, and it's going to show me in plan, right? So another valuable tool is if you want to just download all the ideas and look through them in a sheet, you can actually do that as well. You just hit download keyword ideas. So your grouped ideas, this is also a nice little tool that'll kind of put the actual keywords into ad groups for you. Again, it's it's a little bit, you kind of want to walk through and make sure that they aren't out of line, right? Like these are medical, where, these are health. Like there's some of these that they're not always aligned, right? When you're talking about individual health insurance, individual insurance plans, individual health plans, medical insurance plans for individuals, I would typically use that as more of a descriptor, where the theme is the actual health insurance, right? So it's just be mindful of using that particular tool. The keyword ideas is definitely something that you can really dive into and utilize to find some new words, basically. Now, whenever we have the plan up, then we go to plan overview. And so this is going to show me what the particular forecasting for my keywords that I put in the plan, right? These are my keywords that I have in my plan. They're all health insurance, right? And it can kind of tell me what the overall volume is. If I'm, I had 67,000 clicks, 2.2 million impressions, my daily budget would be 10K, right? So if I want to change this around a little bit, I can't do that on this tool, right? So that's more in the forecasting tool. But this gives you some nice little data as far as being able to actually see what this is. And if you just want to create a campaign from that point, you can do health insurance. It's recommending that I do a $10,000 a day budget. I'm going to do $1 just because I don't want it to start going off the rails. So I'm actually going to do a penny. Now that'll put the campaign in there, and you have to go back and create the ad, or you can go in and manually adjust it, which that's what we're going to kind of walk through, is how to go through those campaigns. So the ad groups, the plan overview, it'll also break it down to the ad groups, keywords, and it'll allow you to do the location targeting to add all of it. So whenever you're up at the plan overview and you want to add it as a campaign and create campaign, you can have all this stuff already basically in there, and you can even put negatives in them. So this tool is really, really handy. It's more of if you're going to start creating campaigns out of it, honestly, I would wait and hold your horses on that, because it'll honestly, it can leave you where some of these very, very valuable tools that can literally cost you or $10,000 or save you $10,000, they're not going to be in place, right? So that's why I will typically just pull out an actual plan from this idea and then move on to the next one, okay? And then the last tool, as we go into the keyword plan, like you can actually do, let's say, health insurance. So that nice little handy tool that I told you that had all the nice forecasting metrics in here, this one you can actually change the numbers and everything in it, right? So it's going to do forecast, it's going to health insurance. So if I want to change these in here, move them around a little bit, I can adjust my bid to $5. All right, and it'll change it in here. I can adjust it to $1. So I can change with that a little bit. It's always going to be set at this daily budget. It's going to forecast what the overall volume is for that particular keyword. How you can kind of adjust and see what your performance would be, adjust that to $2. And, daily budget only needs to be $3,000. You're going to spend $45K a month, right? So that's basically, and then you can look at some negatives as well and add in negatives, and there's historical metrics that are nice. That'll show you kind of what the top of page and for your entire keywords. So the final one is this ad preview and diagnosis tool. The ad preview and diagnosis tool is a very, very valuable tool for basically troubleshooting all your ads, right? It's accessible within the actual ad campaigns as well, which I'll show you in a later subsequent lesson as well. But this is if you want to just go in and look for a particular term, right? So health insurance. Can tell me your ad is not showing. It'll also, if I don't have a campaign running in this account, but normally it will show you, this isn't running because of this ad group is being shown over this keyword, or you've run out of budget, or your schedule is turned off, or anything along those lines. But it'll show you how your ad will look within the actual system, and then you can kind of troubleshoot it from there, whether or not it's active or not. You can do some adjustments on, tablet, mobile. You can also do locations, all that fun stuff. And then you can actually share the preview with, through a link as well. Go there. and it'll walk you through that. So that's your tool belt, right? The tool belt and tools and setting menu is a very, very very important, section of the AdWords account, right? It's where a lot of your planning and forecasting material is. It's also where all your measurement is, and it's also how you link all your accounts together. So if you lost me at any point throughout this video, kind of go back through, step back through, different sections, and make sure that you understand exactly, where all the menus are that are really valuable, because again, this measurement menu is infinitely valuable. Shared library you'll use, especially once you get to, greater scale. And the planning is always good to check either your own metrics, you can check your own keywords, your site, or even just discovering new things within the account. It's incredibly important. And then, hey, once we get you passed through the accelerated program, we're going to go ahead and teach you exactly how to use these bulk actions to make sure managing all this becomes very much easy. And, you can do it basically with your eyes closed. So that covers the tools section. We're going to jump into the report section. It's definitely a very, very comprehensive video as well that's going to teach you all about how the measurement works and really identifying, so that also you can report back, to your clients, but also you can evaluate your own performance as well. So I'll see you in the next video.